Hello friends, I welcome you to EPG Pathshala. My name is Dr. Amit Katoch and I am working as Assistant Professor in University Institute of Hotel and Tourism Management of Punjab University. Dear students, I would be taking the module on air cargo, concept, meaning, terminologies, evolution and importance under the paper Cargo Operations and Management. After completing this module, the students will be able to learn about past and present of air cargo in Europe, air cargo in USA, major players with different business models, service or network attributes, viable benefits of air cargo and demand of air cargo. Firstly, I will discuss about the history of air cargo and present scenario. Mail was sent through balloons, airship and pigeons before the invention of aircrafts. On 7 November 1910, the first cargo was carried by an aircraft. It happened from Dayton to Columbus, Ohio, and carried few dash of silk which were transported by air. In 1911, which was after 1 year of first cargo carried by aircraft, experimentation with the movement of mail was declared. The following year, in 1911, the first official air mail flight fall out. In United States, the regular air mail service started in 1914, though in Germany, the first official air mail flight occurred in 1912. The first route of contract air mail came into existence on 7th October 1925 from US Postal Service to cover all the areas and the points that have been destined. Just for example, contract air mail 1, that is CAM 1, took a flight from New York to Boston and was checked or supervised by Joan Tripe. The majority revenue of airlines, about 85% in 1931, was from the contracts of domestic air mail contracts, while 14.8% was from the passenger services and a meager 0.2% from the freight services. If it would not have been the postal service contract air mail routes, it would have led to the vulnerability of US commercial aviation. The World War II contributed immensely to the development of air industry due to large carriage of freight to support war. For example, 6,50,000 tons of cargo was transferred between India and southern China from the year 1942 to 1945 to support the nationalist Chinese. In later years, the largest airlift occurred in the history to support the impeded city of Berlin. Later time frame, door-to-door services were initiated in 1868. Hillbloom, Lynn and Dalesley started off with DHL, whereas in 1971 Federal Express was started by Fred Smith. While studying entrepreneurship, Fred Smith had a definite leadership role. In 1970, the era had jets with wide body when first Boeing 747 was introduced. It happened very first time that size over speed was chosen so as to increase the performance. Afterwards, the production of wide-bodied aircraft of 3 engines was started, namely Lockheed L-1011 and Douglas DC-10. Then in April 1972, Lufthansa flew the first fighter Boeing 747 from Frankfurt to New York. To the surprise, there were 1738 fighters in operation worldwide by 2012. The air cargo planes can be categorized in different ways. the 37%, large wide-bodied aircraft which are less than 80 tons, 36% medium wide-bodied aircrafts which are 40 to 80 tons, and 27% standard wide-bodied aircrafts which are larger than 40 tons. On the other hand, increase to at least 3,200 airplanes by 2031 was the world fleet's demand. Now I will discuss about Europe air cargo. Aviation led to growth at the end of World War I. Civil in Europe, the first cargo only air company was planned and began its services between Paris and France in July 1919. In 1928, Lufthansa started with air freight services. In 1900s, Netherlands, France and Great Britain had colonies that presented their government trusted and rapid connections all over. But the study made in Britain resulted in that the smaller companies are not economically fit to attain the goal in order to connect the air transportation network. Therefore, the small companies decided to merge and formed Imperial Airways Limited. Imperial Airways soon started transporting goods and other services in and fro from destinations like Sydney, Basra, Cairo and Delhi to London Croydon Airport. After World War II, the airways tie up with the British Airways Limited to introduce the new airline which was named as British Overseas Airways Corporation, forerunner of present British Airways. Governments in Europe took cargo as of national priority and reign, and therefore the privatization got cancelled and eventually got nationalized. Now I will discuss about USA air cargo. The practical demonstration of air freight occurred in 1910 in USA. From Dayton to Columbus, Ohio, they transferred the full dash of silk by air. In July 1918, US Army initiated the first air mail service, which was a great initiative. Service of US mail got launched, which was between New York City and San Francisco. The time taken in one direction was 34 hours and 45 minutes and 32 hours and 21 minutes by the other. This all led to the growth of the air industry, which resulted in transportation of the mails to the different parts of the world. It crossed the limit from 7 lakh mails to more than 22 million. The air industry took up to a new level in USA. It was then in 1926 and 1934 that things changed rapidly. USA became largest in the world in terms of the air transportation by providing services in terms of more than half of the passengers trip and 1/3 of mail transport. It all came into exist due to the act formed, that is Air Commerce Act, released in 1926, which was the starting point of the air cargo system. It allowed the rules and regulations and guidelines regarding the following, that is license of pilots, to keep a check regarding the air traffic, to assure the role of airports nationally. US started off with a new cargo services on December 23, 1940. United Nations initiated aircraft Douglas DC-4, which used to send mails from New York to Chicago, but the route got cancelled within few months. Thereafter, new company was introduced by the main cities of big business, Eastern United, TWA American in 1941, March 14. Many airlines including them led to beginning of own commercial air freight services for the people all over. President Roosevelt organized an international conference after actualizing the importance of air industry after World War II. This conference was hosted in 1944, which included all the principles and rights regarding civil aviation. This was eventually named as Chicago Convention, which was created by ICAO with the conclusion, that is, standard access to the air navigation to sustain the rights of the country in order to safeguard the interests of their own in providing the rights of landing the cargo. In 1940s, market of air freight was controlled by carriers indulged in constituting passenger service. The airlines that were formed, such as Air Cargo, was basically tensed that small time operators like Flying Tiger Line and Slick Airways would undermine the mercantile aviation sector by proposing low rates and providing irregular services. By the end of 1940s, the small scale operators, the carriers which were already established, and the Civil Aeronautics Board of Government fenced that how to grant contents and proper rates that has been set. 4 all freight airlines were permitted by CAB in August 1949. CAB permit for to function Air News, US Airlines, Flying Tiger and Slick. Slick Airlines and US Airlines went bankruptcy, which led to the ruination of the companies. Another company which came into being with them was Slick Airways. It had moderate growth during its time period, but eventually got shut due to the inability of the services. It didn't get the government support and contribution for the airlines, which resulted in its end. There was another company, namely Flying Tiger, which attained comparatively good enough being a competitor itself. It earned about $20 million annually. The success behind was imputed to its business model and have broadened its market share as well. The air freight business was overturned by a new airline in 1970s. The company was none other than FedEx, which was owned by the chairman Fred Smith as its CEO. Overnight delivery service was main imagination which had at that moment. According to him, he already sensed the opportunity presented by the service of transportation of cargo that will eradicate the need to combine passenger traffic along with freight. According to his opinion, cargo delivery was slowed down because of this only. The headquarters were set up in Memphis, Tennessee by the director who launched Mr. Smith. With all his efforts and hard work, the hub for his exclusive freight air delivery service was now Memphis International Airport. One of the most crucial factors was to deliver the next day with full guarantee. In 1983, FedEx noticeably earned great revenues of $1 billion. It was a matter of surprise for the company, who had been in the business for only 10 years and earning the extraordinary amount. Now it is one of the largest overnight delivery companies in US. Air Cargo reckoned for values of 7.4%, 0.1% of the weight and 0.3% of the ton miles of activity of commercial freight in US in 2002. Although this share is comparatively low, air freight plays a particularly integral role in moving freight quickly over long distances. In fact, the majority of freight tons moved by air is transported 750 miles or more. It has directed towards the growth of demand for the air cargo services. It had been possible only due to globalization of trade, enhancement of the advanced techniques, and air transportation becoming a part of our daily lives. Now I will discuss about different business models, that is major players in cargo. It includes the incorporated, flat tops and non-incorporated services. It initiates with the process which involves the transportation of goods with the help of air. When the commencement of the shipper is done with the freight forwarder, door to door entire transportation chain is fixed up by the forwarder. The company for freight forwarding is accountable for managing all sections of transportation, that is road, rail, air or sea, preparing and processing the important documents to a certain conformity with all legal requirements as well as the custom requirements, and counsel the shippers on and fixing up the packaging of goods which have been transported or will be. Freight forwarders depend on carriers for the physical movement of goods and are typically non-asset based. They may undertake with trucking companies for road feeder services to go about the freight between the shipper and the airport. All the goods and all the documentation are given to the airline handling provider at the airport itself. After assessing the freight and observing that it is ready for the carriage, the handling company allows the containers and builds pallets and further delivers it to the airplane and loads them in it. The air cargo carrier is charged for the airport to airport transfer of goods. Carriers can be of two different types, which may include all cargo operators or can be both carrying passengers and cargo. When it reaches the destination, the carrier makes air freight accessible to the forwarder's delegate for road feeder service to the recipient of the goods. Once it is delivered to the recipient, the supply procedure is finished. The part of mediators plays a crucial role during the process of supply of the air cargo, as every step is dependable on the previous one. Cargo only carrier. They are the passenger aircraft which have been converted for cargo operations, and they are often fly freighters. There is no seat or windows in the main cabin of freighters. The doors are larger than aircraft door and have been configured for passenger service and reinforced floors. Heavy items are loaded with the help of rollers which are fitted there and help in facilitating. Hinged tails or noses are there in many modern freighters which help in straight-in loading of large items. Wide-body airplanes are operated by cargo-only carriers, generally from one major airport to another. Traffic of cargo-only carriers is approximately 10% to 15% of world air cargo, mostly on transcontinental routes or long-haul international. Combination carriers. Passenger transportation is the main focus of domestic carriers, but they also have extra space to transport cargo. That is why they are known as combination carriers. 50% of international air cargo is moved in the bellies of passenger aircraft, which is the industry estimate, whereas passenger planes carries only 10% to 30% of US domestic air cargo. Traditional airline business model is used by many of the domestic combination carriers, where operations are extended with side services by the airlines like in-flight catering or engineering, cargo, and thus only scant attention is paid by the management. Now I will discuss about service and network credits. Wide body passenger aircraft transport most flight in lower level cargo holds. These holds are very much accessible from one or more outside doors. Boeing 747, Airbus A300, A310, Airbus A330, Boeing 767, Boeing 777, Airbus A340 and Airbus A380 are some aircrafts that are used as international flights, and they offer a great amount of cargo space. The growth of air cargo is the result of growth in the size of the wide body fleet. To reduce the wastage of time on ground, it is commonly practiced to load all suitable freight in or on unit load devices, which are mostly either containers or pallets. Pallets are basically the aluminum sheets with rims which allow nets to be affixed so as to hold loose packages in that place only. Containers are portable aluminum compartments that are fully enclosed of various sizes and shape. Full capacity of the airplane, if needed to be utilized, shape of the containers are on such way that they fit the contours of an aircraft's frame and doors. Highly specialized containers are used sometimes for some shipments to maintain specific temperature, and usually they are shock absorbers. Own fleets of dedicated cargo aircraft are owned and operated by specialized cargo carriers. There are some of the airplanes which are passenger aircraft, but they have been permanently converted for cargo usage. The aircraft most commonly used as a cargo plane is the Boeing 747, having various configurations. In old time, ease of maintenance and operational suitability were the major factors that used to decide which aircraft would be added to a cargo fleet as per its condition. But in today's time, factors like environmental, fuel economy and noise also plays vital role in the decision of the operators. Now I will discuss about air cargo's demand and importance. Founder of Virgin Atlantic Airways was Sir Richard Branson. He concluded his business of aviation by saying that if you want to be a millionaire, start with $1 billion and open an airline company, and very soon you will be a millionaire. The global movement of goods lies on 5 modes of transport source, that is highway, rail, air, maritime and pipeline. So, air transport is one of the 5 modes of transportation, but intercontinental freight movement can only be supported by 2 modes, that are maritime and air, while except pipeline all other transportation modes can help in moving the same commodities. The benefit of maritime transport is the low cost for movement of goods, whereas air freight provides fast, speed, reliability and security for goods transfer. The change in the world gross domestic product, that is GDP, is linked with changes in world air cargo traffic. Annual forecast of Boeing 2012 from 1987 to 1997 states that an average rate of 7.1% annually demand for the transfer of goods through air cargo worldwide. But this growth level have dropped after September 11, 2001 to an annual growth rate of 4.1% as per the report suggested. The price of fuel increased due to the terrorist attack in the US, which resulted in increase of shipment cost and forced the companies to go for the less expensive and cheaper transportation sources such as rail, road and maritime than the air cargo. In the recent years also, aviation industry has gone through tough time as the fuel prices increase led to additional financial pressure. Now I will discuss about workable advantage of air cargo. Proportionately expensive material lean to go by air despite knowing about the fact that it will have much higher expenses because of the following reasons. Small shipment size. Because of the higher expenses, costly material needs to be transported in comparatively small shipment sizes, because of which it is satisfactory for the air transport. Great example to prove is that gold is not brought in sufficient quantity by people to top up a 20-foot sea drum. Instead, less expensive than gold, electronic items, instruments, knowledgeable machines of industry and other expensive materials also lean to be packed closely and tightly. Cost of listing or recording. As air cargo operations can provide a shipper the comfort of high speed, regular and proper supply of goods, record levels can be decreased. The speed of air cargo led producer to transfer goods or material at their customers' end in very less time instead of having large warehousing facilities for the operations. By minimizing the record levels, company can earn more money. Security. All the expensive materials need more security from various factors like loss breakage or theft than cheaper goods or materials. Aircraft mostly provides the fastest way of transferring, as well as it is the most securable way of transferring cargo goods from one destination or point to another destination or point. Capacity cost. Expensive material requires high amount of investment and charge high cost of interest on their possessor. So the time savings attained with the help of air cargo is for sure more valuable when expensive goods or materials are indulged. So we conclude this all, we can understand that air helps in providing the benefits of speed, reduction of inventory cost, reliability and security. Now I would summarize the whole module. Mail was sent through balloons, airship and pigeons before the invention of aircrafts. In 1970, the era had jets with wide body when first Boeing 747 was introduced. It happened very first time that size over speed was chosen so as to increase the performance. Afterwards, the production wide-bodied aircraft of 3 engines was started, namely Lockheed L-1011 and Douglas DC-10. Then in April 1972, Lufthansa flew the first freighter Boeing 747 from Frankfurt to New York. Aviation led to growth at the end of World War I in Europe. Though the practical demonstration of air freight occurred in USA, President Roosevelt organized an international conference after actualizing the importance of air industry after World War II. This conference was hosted in 1944, which included all the principles and rights regarding civil aviation. This was eventually named as Chicago Convention, which was created by ICAO and brought a strong change in the global air regulations and facilitated international air travel. The intercontinental freight movement can only be supported by two modes, that are maritime and air. The benefit of maritime transport is the low cost for movement of goods, whereas air freight provides fast speed, reliability and security for goods transfer. The change in the world gross domestic product, that is GDP, is linked with changes in world air cargo traffic. Thank you and have a great future ahead.